Don't panic, our audience is patient, I believe.
We hope so.
I think.
Oh, I think it works. Like,
Yeah.
the
YouTube streaming is started.
Oh, really? Has it? YouTube?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, great.
are there anyone who can check the YouTube?
Don't panic, our audience is patient.
I think it works. Like,
Hope so.
This is going to be our unmemorable, unforgettable 10 minutes.
It works.
YouTube streaming is started.
Try
Oh,
to.
really? YouTube?
Yeah, on the YouTube.
Great, great.
So
Oh my God. I can check.
Why don't we start from the beginning again?
all right. Could you go back to?
Sorry for
Yeah,
being
thanks. Okay, sorry to keep you wait for about 10 minutes. We had some technical issues. Okay, so thank you for everyone of you for coming to the event International Student Summit on SDGs 2021. Today we are very pleased to be able to welcome those of you who have been with us for a long time, and now as well as those who are new to this organization. AAEE, abbreviation of Asia Association of Education Exchange. AAEE is a general incorporated association founded by Professor Akinori Seki. Since the AAEE has been actively promoting educational exchange through a variety of programs and activities. As for me, I have participated in VJEP 2019, and I had a wonderful experience with exchanging cultures and knowledges about each country with the participants from VJP 2019. Now, coming to the program today, we would like to introduce our guests. Will you please go to the next slide, please? Oh, sorry. Next slide. Professor Akinori Seki, the president of this organization and director of General Education Center, Tokyo Keizai University, and chairperson of International Exchanges Committee. Will you please give us a few words?
Okay. My turn.
Yes.
Yes. Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As I introduced, my name is Akinori Seki. I'm the president of this organization. I'm quite honored to be invited to such an excellent student summit, this time as a guest. AAEE have conducted as many as 31 international exchange programs so far, and more than 700 university students throughout Asia has participated in the exchange program, either as a participant or an organizer. And as a president, I had engaged in the programs actively as an organizer so far. No, before last time. However, this time, for the first time since our organization is established in 2008, I'm here as a guest. Even though I am a guest this time, as a person on behalf of AAEE, I would like to thank the many people and organization who has supported this program. First of all, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Japan and JICA for their kind support throughout the years. We would also like to thank the embassies of several countries for sending us their messages of encouragement. Also, we could not have this wonderful day without the support of alumni of AAEE who lives throughout the world. Also, I am so proud of all the AAEE student assistant and delegates of the program for making such a great event by themselves during this pandemic. I am honored to be a supervisor of such hardworking and excellent students from the 4 countries. You never had the chance to meet each other before, and you had to work only through the internet. However, you have confirmed that there are limitless possibilities on online international collaboration project. And last but not least, we are more than happy to welcome such an honorable guest, Mr. Hiroaki Kawashima from Japan, who lives in the United States currently, and Professor Mahabub at Brock University, and a prominent journalist from different countries. We are looking forward to your great presentations on SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Seki, for your wonderful remarks. Now I'd like to introduce our honorable guest, Mr. Hiroki Kazuma. He's an Senior Director at JTEKT North America Corporation and also a visiting scholar in Center for Japanese Studies, University of California, Berkeley. And talking about Mr. Hiroki, he started his career from Mitsubishi Corporation as a commodity trader. Mr. Hiroki mainly pursued business career, including working as a strategy consultant and managing 2 Japanese companies, including position of Executive Vice President of Linkers Corporation based in Tokyo. Currently based in Silicon Valley, Hiroki is overseeing corporate innovation and advising top management of Japanese company in automotive, food, and retail sector. Mr. Hiroki holds BA in Economics from University of Tokyo, Masters in Business Administration from Harvard Business School, and Masters in Public Administration from Harvard Kennedy School. Hiroki also contributed to Nikki Education and also Toyo Keizai Online and Nikkei Technology Online. We are really glad for your presence, and I really want to invite you to give your small remarks. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Hiroaki Kajima, Senior Director at JTEK North America, and also from University of California, Berkeley. I feel truly honored to join in this truly global project consisted of the students from 4 countries. And first of all, I wanted to say convey special appreciation to Professor Seki, President of AAEE, Mr. Kato, Vice President of the AAEE, and also the committee members of the AAEE. I deeply appreciate you inviting me in this special occasion. I think this project is particularly relevant given the situation like environment issues, or particularly for the COVID-19. So these days, all the global problems, global issues is becoming like intertwined, and also needs interdisciplinary approach. And for me, also the current timing is relevant because I'm working, even though in the United States, I'm working with a team in Vietnam, and also recently started a project, the team in Nepal. So these particular occasions, the working style, working global, working with a team over the online and Zoom, and also at the same time, all the global issues, starting from the innovation, business, corporate management, and also environmental issues, which needs all collaboration from different countries, because without that, simply we cannot solve the issues. So I think I believe this type of experiences, particularly for the participants, is going to be greatly relevant for the future career, because these types of the online collaboration is going to just increase in the future. So I'm very looking forward to how this collaboration of the participants from 4 countries achieved in this project, and I truly looking forward to have some comments and reviews from my side. Again, special thanks to all of the committee members, participants, to inviting me in this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having little remarks, honorable remarks to us, Mr. Kojima. We'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So starting our presentation, Unite program is the first international online exchange program conducted by AAEE. The theme of this program is environment, and the participants have discussed, researched, and prepared for this final presentation event through the Unite program. We really hope to provide you meaningful time. We will be inviting Mr. Hiroaki Kojima and Mr. Akinori Seki from our special guest and some organizers as a judge. So now please allow me to brief a little on the evaluation criteria. The presentations will be judged by their creativity, visibility, structure of the presentation, data analysis, correct information, and performance skills. After the presentation, we will invite Mr. Kojima to give us comments and feedback on the presentation. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you.
So thank you, Momoka, for explaining the evaluation criteria. Now I'd like to introduce you to 5 elements, respect to which we have divided our groups into 5 different groups, and each group has 1 members from each countries. And our 5 groups are soil, water, air, fire, and life. So the first group to present today is Team Air, and their group content. So the group members are Takayoshi and Razu, Sobha, and Mark. Let's give them a huge virtual round of applause. So Air team, you can go on.
Can I start? Thank you. Hello, everyone. We are Air Group. Thank you all very much for coming today. We are pleased to have the opportunity to make this presentation. We are going to talk about air pollution. Our topic is the impact of air pollution from household wastes on our health and waste management situation. Our presentation will last for about 15 minutes. Let's start with a video introducing air pollution. Next slide, please. Firstly, please let me introduce ourselves. My name is Taka from Japan, and other members are leader Raju, Mark, Shofa. They are from Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Nepal, respectively. Next slide, please. We have 3 parts in our presentation, as you can see, and I am responsible for part 1, introduction and causes. Okay, let's pay attention. And our other team members will present effects and solution parts. Let's start with watching a video. Next, please.
Largest single environmental health risk according to the World Health Organization. Yet we still don't fully understand all the factors that influence air quality. A new generation of pollution monitors could help gather the evidence essential to tackle this increasingly urgent.
Thank you for watching the video. Next, please. Now, I will talk about introduction and causes. Next, please. Household waste is one of the causes which can increase air pollution dramatically. Air pollution is increasing fine particles and harmful gas components in the atmosphere that adversely affects human health and the environment. Next, please. Do you know household waste is the waste which is generated in the day-to-day operations of a household? It can include everything from lawn clippings to burned out light bulbs to degradable kitchen waste. As you can see the picture, historically, people disposed of their household waste by burying or burning it. But these methods became impractical once human population started growing, resulting in development of landfills, disposal sites where collected waste from a large area is buried. Next, please. Do you know there is a relationship between air pollution and household waste? Every year, 1,000 tons of solid waste is mixing with air. Solid waste disposal impacts on air pollution for 9.7% of overall air pollution. It is a big problem. People burn household waste, and the smoke and smell of this waste is mixing with air. You know, the smoke is full of toxic chemicals and gases. The increasing rate of CO, HC, particulates, SOx, NOx is affecting so much to our health. Looking at the table clearly, we can see that the rate of CO is 7.9 from solid waste disposal from households, and all the gases so on. Next, please. Household waste has huge environmental impacts and can cause serious problems. Some waste will eventually rot, but not all, and in the process, it may smell toxic gases. The gases from rotten waste are producing bad smells, and they are harmful for our health. They contribute to the waste management situation. Thank you. Please, Mark.
Okay, thanks, Taka. So hi everyone, I'm Mark and I'm from Vietnam, and I am continue to our presentation. So let's go into talk about the effect of evolution from household waste. Next slide, please. So dispersions of toxic compounds from chemicals compounds are actually responsible for the effects of our health. As we mentioned before, evolution can suffer us from disease by breathing or have implications. To be more specific, we can get some kind of immediate health issues like skin irritations, blood infection, respiratory problems, ground problem, or even reproductive issues. So there can be some long-term health issues like stroke, chronic obstructive, or lung cancer, etc. So I will talk more about lung cancer. So lung cancer is the first cancer of both men and women in US. So when you think of the risk factor for lung cancer, what comes to mind? Most of us think about the risk associated with smoking cigarettes. But do you know about evolution can also cause lung cancer? Overwhelming evidence show that pollution in the outer air we breathe, like that comes from vehicle exhaust, coal-fired power plants, or other industrial sources can cause lung cancer. Next slide, please. So we can see that lung cancer is called the invisible killer. It's account 20 29% of death from lung cancer in every year from the WHO. Next slide, please. So now we are moving on to the graph to see clearly about current situation and the number of waste management in the country. The pie graph illustrates the number of municipal solid waste generation informations, Bangladesh, Japan, Nepal, and Vietnam, respectively. Overview is displayed that the rate of municipal solid waste generations was higher than 3 other countries. Also noticeable was that the number of city solid waste for Bangladesh and Vietnam were relatively close, while there is a large gap between Nepal and other countries. Via research informations by reading article or newspaper, I saw that every country, the government also enacts policies to diminish the number of household waste every year, but we are still living in a generation which is ever increasing of household waste, trash, etc. So in the end, the question is, had the government come up with a reasonable solution for the waste management process? So my answer is 5. Although the problem of waste management has not been completely resolved, but the governments are still trying their best to handle this problem. So I think we need to next part to know more about the solution of this problem. I will call Rachel to continue my part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Now I will present our probable solution and conclusion part. Can you go to the next slide, please? And yeah, here you can see the outline of our probable solution. In the solution part, at first I will talk about waste reduction, then I will talk about the fiber, including refuse, reduce, refill, reuse, repair, and finally I will present our original solution. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, as you can see, waste reduction means getting less environment impact, using less resources and energy, and saving money. It's like if we do waste reduction, we will get less environmental impacts in our health. We will use less resources and we can save money. Recycling is only one aspect of waste reduction. Waste Watch estimated that at least half of the contents of our dustbins could potentially be recycled. In addition, we could compost the 20% of vegetable peelings and other organic waste that we throw away. Despite this potential recycle or compost around 60% to 70% of our waste, we are only recycling or composting 12%. A total of 80% of municipal waste is landfilled and 8% is incinerated to produce energy. Can you go to the next slide, please? As we can see the table, there are some general solution. I will present our fiber part now. We can refuse some of our wastes like harmful products for our environment. So we can refuse some of our waste like harmful products for our environment. And for example, this can be undisposable products, overpackaged goods, etc. And we can reduce some waste like well-made and long-lasting products, returnable containers, taking our own shopping bags, using reusable, washable nappies for babies. We can refill packs to buy for some products. We can reuse some of the waste like jam bars, jam jars and bottles, plastic carrier bags, old clothes, books, toys, unwanted gifts, and household goods and envelopes. So we can also repair some of our accessories, especially the electrical items. So can you go to the next slide, please? And yeah, the most important of this fiber is this all can save our health from air pollution. This will decrease the rate of carbon and other toxic gases which are harmful for the environment as well as our health. And this is our original probable solutions part from our research. We want to provide a 7-day challenge. So our behavior will be to apply the sufficient and throughout solutions to protect the environment. Our mission will be raising the awareness of our topic, focusing on air pollution from household waste minimization. And then we will create a chain of 7-day challenge. We'll create a, okay, let's skip it. We'll create a chain of 7-day challenge in each week lasting 5 months from day 1 to day 7 of our campaign. In these 7 days, the challenges will be all about how people actually realize the effects of using plastic and other household waste in daily life. Can you go to the next slide, please? On the first day, we will encourage people to count how many plastic things and wastages of households they have thrown away in their results on social media. The next day, we will want all people to give up using plastic and throwing wastages of households in one day. Then we will give them a story template so that so they can share their difficulties about on using plastic things in one day. And on the final day, we will based on the facts that are given in the content to give them a comparison about the plastic things they have thrown away and their difficulties, which is more serious to our environment and health. Absolutely, they will also given a story template to share their final results and their thoughts about the problems. We think through these experiences, it's nothing big, but it will be realistic to our concern about the air environment. We will also share them the effects of these wastes on our health, and we should do this to save our health from fatal diseases and also for saving our environment. Can you go to the next slide, please? And yeah, these are the references and evidences of research papers we used for constructing our research. Can you go to the next? And thank you so much for your cooperation and hearing us with tolerance. And that's all from us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Air Team. It was really informative and amazing slide. Now let's move to the Q&A session. If you guys have any questions, please keep it in the Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or here in the Zoom chat. So please, if you have any queries regarding their presentation, please keep your question.
I think we've received a question from Sui.
Okay. So, question from Sue is: how many people is the challenge going to involve? How many people? Anyone from the team want to answer?
Can I answer?
Yeah, go on.
Actually, at first we'll focus on the 4 countries like Bangladesh, Japan, Nepal, and Vietnam. We'll work for these 4 countries in the starting point, and then considering the feedback from these 4 countries people, we'll just work to spread our project or challenge. So I think
Can I add more information to support his answer? So I think is the challenge is going to involve with everyone, and my target is a student in the university to spread more about the value of challenge to everyone. Yeah. It's not people in foreign country. I think it's also if we can make a chance, the challenge can spread in around the world. It's not only in foreign country. Yeah, this is my view. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We have a question from Ramesh. He tells that the data on the waste for Nepal is only for Kathmandu. Do you have any data for the whole country?
Actually, for this research, we just focus on the just only of the city of Kathmandu, but we have many data of the overall situation of this country. But for this research, we just considered the cities, Kathmandu. We just focused on Kathmandu. So,
thank you, Razu. So another question from Tony. He asks, what is the age of the participant? What will be the age of the participants for the challenge?
I think the participants can be people who are able to, use social media, who are the people of all ages who are able to use social media. I think they will be our participants.
So we have a question from YouTube Live. How can you say 7 days is enough?
Actually, this is like our 7-day challenge. From the first day, we will work in a constructive way. We will try to do this in a constructive way. But for us, living in a digital world, I don't think we can work all year long. We can just try to from using the 7 days. At the starting point, we can start from 7 days challenge, and then we'll spread our challenges in all over the year. Thank you.
Okay, can I add more information about his answer? So I think 7 day challenge is not enough, but I think via this program we will enhance the awareness of people. Like we want to spread the value of the program to everyone. That's why when they finish 7 day challenge, we can make more like a month challenge, a year challenge, yeah, something like this. Thank you.
So we have our next question from Momoka. Oh, sorry, from Mahabub. It cannot be bounded. If Japan continues to pollute, then how will Nepal get relief from the problem? So anybody from the group wants to answer it?
Can I?
Yeah, go on.
Actually, we also think air cannot be bounded. If Japan continues to pollute, then how will Nepal get relief from their problem? It's a interesting question, and thank you so much for this question. Actually, this is for the change or for the development of our concern. We will work for the consciousness of the people. We will focus on the psychology of people, and that's why I think if if Japan continues to pollute, then how can I say, if the people of if the consciousness of Japan's people is developed, and the Nepal get relief from this problem, like this, we can the people of all the countries can be conscious. I think this is the answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the questions, and thank you for the A team. Can we show the presentation? We're going to move to the next presenter. Can anyone present? So our next team is live.
Ayaka, are you ready to share your screen?
So let's welcome the live team. We have Misato from Japan, Nasiba from Bangladesh, Susan from Nepal, and Wendy from Vietnam. So let's give them a huge round of virtual clap and welcome them for their presentation.
Hello, everyone. Konnichiwa, Xin Chao, and Namaskar from Nashiba, Misato, Sujan, and Wendy. So we're going to vocalize about the insights of the corals. A coral reef is an underwater ecosystem characterized by reef building of corals. They are often mistaken for non-living things, but yet they are the living animals, one of the most uncommon living animals to talk about. So let's hear the voice of corals. Next slide, please. Let's get to know about the importance of corals first. Coral reefs reduce wave energy by 97% before hitting the shore. It protects the coastlines from storms and erosion, provide jobs for local communities, and offer opportunities to recreation. Coral reefs, 70 million trips are supported by coral reefs annually. It incomes like 29.8 billion annual benefits. Well-managed reefs produce 5 to 10 tons of fish per kilometer square per year. Coral reefs covers more than 1% of the Earth's surface, but are home to 25% of all the marine fishes. So more than half of the all new cancer drug research focuses on marine organisms, and coral is one of them. So next slide, please. So 70% of so let's see what's wrong with the corals. 70% of the tropical reefs are under heat stress, and 30% of them are close to brink of extinction. Scientists' predictions are like 75% of the corals of the world will disappear by 2050. World's corals have gone through successive coral bleaching and close to irreversible bleaching. Next slide, please. 29 reef systems by United Nations are projected to die by 2100. The Great Barrier Reef alone has lost more than half of its area by 1985. That information is taken from National Academy of Sciences. So as you guys can presume the importance of saving the corals. Now, my team member Wendy will take over.
Well, thank you, Nashiba. First of all, I would like to show you how a coral steps into painful death. You know that a totally healthy coral would be surrounded by many strong polyps. A tiny, soft, hardy. Their skeletons are white and like human bones. When water too warm, corals will expel the orange, leaving their tissues causing the coral to turn completely white. And this is called coral bleaching. When a coral bleaches, it is not dead. Corals can survive a bleaching event, but they are under more stress and are subject to mortality. So next slide, please. So let me give you first instance. In 2005, the US lost half of its coral reef in the Caribbean in 1 year due to a massive bleaching event. The warm water centers around the northern Antilles near the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico expanded southward. Comparison of satellite data from previous 20 years confirm that thermal stress from the 2005 event was greater than the previous 20 years combined. Next slide, please. So, are you wondering the reason why distorting this phenomenon occurs? Well, let's jump on right now. First and foremost, I would like to divide into two main groups. One is direct reason and one is original reason. Firstly, we find it easy to know causes that affect directly, which are extreme low tide, sewage runoff, overexploitation, polluted habitat including sea oil, ocean acidification, microplastic, and estuaries. So how about original reasons? As you guess, the facts are really close and similar to all of us, which are climate change, global warming, greenhouse gases, especially that is human treated the climate change. Treated Mother Nature badly and ungratefully. And that's why we are facing such serious issues, not only coral bleaching. So next slide, please. Actually, in order to repair the fault, people are taking lots of effort, such as, firmly raising people awareness about environmental problems. Next, we have to figure out ways to decrease climate change as much as possible. In addition, we are able to use biological equipment for example, train our coral DNA sequence to help them cope with the higher temperature. Besides that, we have better protect and remain biodiversity of coral, creating protected areas in the ocean and imposing restrictions on locals and visitors to coral reefs. Next slide, please. So, however, we had mistakes somehow. Citizens suppose that coming up with solutions for those issues is completely scientists' responsibility. They are only normal people, so they must earn means of living, and so we cannot solve problems widely and universally. Parallel with that, some organizations are saying general solutions are not viable and it should concentrate on more globally than locally. Next slide, please. Let me give you an example in Bangladesh. The government released some policies that restricted fishing and set a time limit for fishing to protect the reef, create further conflict, and that will, as a result, creating further conflict between government and villagers. As a result, protecting coral won't be effective. So that's all reasons why our coral ecosystem day by day will die. So from various perspectives, there are myriad of solutions, but because of limited time, we just show our best solution. And next, Sujin will replace me to do it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. So far we have analyzed the drawbacks of the current approaches. Now I'll talk about the solutions that we have come up with. Since our solution is focused on filling the gaps in the current approaches, especially in less developing nations, we are almost 100% sure that the solution is going to make a difference. Our solution is very simple. It is more local. Okay, it's more locally focused. It is based on sustainable approach, and it prioritizes the involvement of the locals in conservation and preservation. Next slide, please. And the solution is initiating the PES, which is relatively a new concept in the field of conservation. So what happens in this particular scheme is that the locals who are close to the ecosystems, or those who are close to the biodiversity rich places, they are the one who are truly using the resources. So it belongs to them. So this system actually pays them. And then we are actually thinking of initiating this PS in all the developing nations, which have important coral areas and which are in over exploitations and overfishing state. Next slide. So I have already talked a bit about what PES is, but in more simple term, it's like the locals who live close to the coastal reefs and are totally dependent on reefs for livelihood will be given monetary benefits by the local municipality. The monetary support will help the underprivileged locals. And in return, locals will agree to not overfish, and they will further support in reefs protection by watching out intruders as well as illegal fishers. They will involve in regular cleaning. And most importantly, they will even use their traditional knowledge of the oceans to protect the reefs. Next slide, please. But we have a little bit of a doubt. How can we ensure that this PS scheme is going to be successful, especially in protecting the corals in these developing nations? So the thing is simple, because we actually bought this concept of PS from the PS scheme in forest from Nepal, and it has worked really well in terms of Nepal's forest protection. So we believe that this protection system or this scheme is going to work really well in protecting the corals from all the developing nations. Next slide. So, and there are additional strengths of our solutions, and to ensure that this particular solution is going to work, the first thing is that we are benefiting everyone. The locals, they will get paid. The government, they do not need to hire additional workers to protect the forest. The second thing, it's really very cheap because we don't need to develop any infrastructures. We're just paying the locals from the government side or from the municipality side, which is making additional benefits from the tourism sector. And this is extremely effective because the locals who are living close to the important coral reefs area, they will be the one protecting the ocean. Since the oceans is theirs, the oceans that has been given down to them by their ancestors from generations to generations, they own it. And we are further giving them money to protect it. And I think this approach is really going to work really well in all of the developing nations, including Bangladesh, Maldives, and all others, including Vietnam, etc. Next slide. So with this, I want to conclude our presentations, and at the next slide, we have all the sources that we have taken help from. So if you want to know more about the corals, or if you want to know how we got all of these informations from, you can go through each of these links. So now we'll open the floors for question and answer sessions. So you can put your questions down in the chat box, or you can have your questions directly through video. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, the water team. And yeah, let's give them this round of applause. It was really informative and I really liked your solution. So I'm opening the Q&A session. So if there is any questions you want to ask for them, you can do in the chat box or over here in Zoom. Sorry, it is not water team, it's life team. Sorry for that. And I really have a question. How do you, like, we have 5 elements, right? Life, water, and so on. So how do you relate your topic with the element life? Do you anybody want to say about it? How did you guys discuss and come up with this topic relating to life?
Well, it's a very uncommon topic for our life, because for our like when we're like choosing the topics, we could have chose wildlife or human lives or any kind of lives, but we chose coral because it's a very uncommon topic to talk about. And after like Windy, our teammate Windy suggested this idea because she has watched the coral bleaching movie. So from that, she could like understand the importance of coral. And many of us think like corals are like a non-living things, but they aren't. They have the life, and we want to like emphasize and vocalize the corals as to clear people's misconceptions, and also to in the perspective of the developing countries in South Asia or Asia, like we have like how we can save the corals from dying. So I think the topic we chose was very unique. So that's why like we decided to go with the topic, even after one of our teammates country, Nepal, doesn't have any oceans. It isn't a sea-based country, but Sujan was very positive about the topic because he wanted to gain even more knowledge about this, and he came up with many possible solutions. And one of the main solution was the concept was given by Sujan himself. So it was very fun while researching, and we exchanged many knowledge about it. So it was very fun to present about this topic.
Thank you, Nishiba. Like, I think it's a very unique topic because we have question relating to coral that rather than your solution. So I would like to ask you some of the question about coral by Tony and Ahmed. Like how can it survive? Like, I mean, what is their food? Like, that's what Tony want to ask you. How does it survive? What is this food in the ecosystem?
Yeah. Okay, you know, like corals living in tropical waters throughout the world. And you know, while corals get most of their nutrients from byproducts of the algae photosynthesis, and they also have barbs and venomous tentacles, and they can stick out, usually at night, and to grab zooplankton and even small fish, and that's way how a coral can get survive in water. And totally they just active in the nightlife, and in in the day, in the morning, they just proactive and turning to house for other animals, and they just get food in the night.
Thank you, Wendy. So we have a question from Mime. Which channel or which ways you guys will do to raise awareness of global citizen about PS solution? So which channels or which ways will you guys take to for the global awareness about PES solution?
Okay,
I think Sujan will explain the part.
I want to, yeah. Okay. Please, Wendy, turn off your mic. Okay, fine. So since this PS is a policy approach, we really don't need to give the awareness to the global citizens. We only need to cover a small village, or we only need to cover those important coral areas. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. So we have a question from you too. What could be challenging of the project and how could you overcome?
I think we are missing some questions above.
What is the challenge? What will be the challenge of this this solution, and how will you overcome it?
In current context, the only problem is with whether the municipality is ready to share the money with the villagers. So that is the main problem. So if the particular municipality is making a lot of profits from the corals, from the fishes that appears in the corals, or they generate from the tourism industry, so they might be just ready to share that much money with the villagers, but every municipality is not going to do that. Some municipality might be facing problem in budget already. So that is the main problem in initiating this particular project in different vessels.
And I strongly believe that CES method is very feasible because it focuses each individual, and we can do immediately at a time. And just because we can spread in that method, and we can overcome over all of place on the world, and it will work.
So I will take the last question, and it's from Ahmad. How can you relate corals with ecosystems?
Let me add this. So corals or the coral reefs, these are the forest of the oceans. They provide shelter, they provide food and lots of resources to marine organisms. That is how there is a relationship between the marine species and the corals. That is how it is an ecosystem. It's a big ecosystems and important ecosystems of the water.
Thank you everybody for your questions. Wendy, do you want to add something to the question?
I just want to for more information. Coral is like a house of all of animals in water. Especially, it is a habitat of 1/4 of animals in the ocean, and that's the relationship between them.
Can I add one thing of my question?
Yeah, go.
Actually, I want to know the participation of corals in the ecosystem. Like if we save the corals, that will save our ecosystem. Do you think so? Can you please explain?
Yes, obviously it will save our ecosystem because it is it shelters among most of the fishes. It gives shelters most of the fishes. So if the coral dies because of the global warming, the fish will lose their houses. And also it helps in the food production. Like well-managed reefs produce approximately 5 or 10 tons of fishes per kilometer per year. So if the foods if the fishes don't get foods, the fishes will die. So obviously it is the core of it is the core issue or the core part of the ocean life. So it obviously affects our environment and the ecosystem, and it will be affected if the corals dies.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody. Thank you the team live for your amazing presentation, and thank you everybody for your amazing questions. I would like to stop the Q&A and move on to the next group, which is Team Water. And for Team Water, we have Yuto from Japan, Aisha from Bangladesh, Ramesh from Nepal, and Tony from Vietnam. Let's give them a huge round of applause. You guys can take over.
Well, namaste, everyone. Water team presents water pollution in water bodies. Can you see the slide? Yeah. Here is the outline of our presentation: definition, cause and effects, situation analysis, and solutions. Slide 10, please. So, why in our oceans every year, 5.25 trillion of macro and pieces of plastics are threatening our oceans. Millions of seabirds are killed by plastic pollution, so as with the humans. Well, for the slides will be covered by our team member, Yuto. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Things you need to know water pollution. Plastics are the synthetic polymers of hydrocarbon, usually made of ethanes. And microplastics are the tiny pieces of plastics, either primary or secondary, that are less than 5 mm in diameter, and they are even more harmful than the ordinary plastics. Thank you. Further slides are covered by our team over YouTube.
Okay, so next I'm going to talk about the major causes of plastic pollution in water bodies. First, littering is one of the main causes that plastic ends up in the ocean. It's hard to imagine how any one person's action could have such a profound effect on the ocean. However, just one piece of plastic can harm sea life and disrupt ecosystems. On beaches, one of the most common places for pollution, the litter will end up in the ocean. Single-use plastic is one of the most common materials for products all over the world, but it affects all wildlife. It is estimated that 8 million tons of plastic waste is thrown away into the ocean annually. Additionally, the more plastic is manufactured, the more consumers will buy. This leads to more litter and water pollution. Also, according to Seagoing Green, a sustainable tourism consultancy in the Netherlands, the equivalent of 68,000 shipping containers of plastic from the United States was exported to developing countries in 2018. Workers in these countries may not have these resources or the regulations to properly recycle the materials. In addition, plastics are lightweight, so wind can blow them off the ship while they are getting exported. So let's move on to the next slide. I'm going to talk about the consequences of plastic waste. Plastics ending up in the ocean are turned into microplastics. Sunlight, waves, and salinity in an ocean can pulverize large pieces of plastics into tiny particles of plastics. That is what we call microplastics. Unsafe water that includes microplastics kills more people each year than war and all other forms of violence combined, as an estimated 1.2 million people died as a result of unsafe water in 2017, according to our World in Data. Microplastics entering the human body migrate into every single one of organs and muscles in our body. And since they are cancer-causing, they can have a huge impact on our health. Plastic pollution in oceans causes suffocation and even death to aquatic populations as well. According to Condor Ferries, an operator of passenger and freight ferry services between the United Kingdom, 100 million marine animals die each year from plastic waste alone. So let's move on to the next slide.
Thank you, Yoto. Now, let's look into the situation analysis of the countries. Next slide, please. First, let's look at the case of Bangladesh. Bangladesh ranked globally in terms of levels mismanaged plastic waste, where 87 tons of single-use plastic waste are being produced containing harmful components like PVC, HDPE, etc., and alarmingly 2 lakh tons of These waste enter the Bay of Bengal, which is visible by the seashore of Cox's Bazar. Not only the sea, but is also affecting the other water bodies like the Buriganga River you can see in the picture. Next slide, please. Moving on to the next slide, let's see the situation in Nepal. 204 tons of plastic waste generated in Nepal every day, from which 131 tons ends up in the streets, drains, and rivers, and 16% of this waste is mostly generated in urban areas. It is seen that about 4.8 million plastic waste are used in Kathmandu alone. And this contribution to the pollution of water bodies, as we can see in the case of the Bagmati River. Next slide, please. So, the case of Japan. It is the second highest producer of plastic waste, generating about 9 million plastic wastes annually. Although Japan has done better in plastic waste management compared to other countries, still there are traces of plastic and microplastic pollution in water bodies. Next slide, please. Moving on to the next slide, let's observe the situation in Vietnam. Vietnam is in the top 3 plastic consumer in Asia and one of the 5 South Asian countries that are responsible for marine plastic leakage, registered plastic waste equivalent to 6% of the total amount of plastic waste in the sea. Not only in the sea, but water bodies like the Dung Dung River are highly polluted due to plastic waste, as we can see in this picture. Therefore, we can say that all 4 countries are facing challenges in plastic waste management to some extent, which are ultimately contributing to water pollution. Now, I'd like to pass Tony for the solution part. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aisha, for showing us like the very serious and critical phase of this situation. Okay, so we need to do something to solve them. I'm gonna talk about the current growth. Like people nowadays are encouraged to use the 3R, reduce, reuse, recycle on the plastic. Moreover, we can stop overuse too much single-use plastic. Bring your eco-friendly material and use them on a daily basis. Dry and safe plastic bag for reusing in the future. Yeah, especially please stop and decline to use products that containing microplastic, because if we like microplastic is containing in toothbrush, in shampoo, and when we the microplastic go into the water and the animal eat the microplastic, it go, if we eat those animals such as squid, fish, it will going back to our body and it harm us a lot. Okay, so next slide, please. So we all know about how people can change our style into a greener one, and we also came up with an idea to make it like spreading the value. Okay, so that name is Environmental Ambassador Collecting Macro and Microplastic in the Seas. The objectives of this project is for the youth, including pupils, students, like us, because we like, understand us, right? Okay, why we do this project? Because we want to have the youth to understand the present scenario of the ocean plastic pollution, and they should involve more in protecting the environment. Yeah, because we are the future of our nation, right? Okay, moving to the next slide. So how can we do this? Okay, what will we do? This is our action plan. So we plan to holding workshop to help them understand the importance of like declining and the serious of plastic and microplastic threats to the seas. Instruct them to use ferrofluid or magnetic liquid to collect microplastic from the ocean, organize field trips for them to collect trash, microplastic at the sea, and giving the microplastic to the technology companies which help them, they need. And those companies can give their product back to the student ambassadors at a gift of appreciation. It will also encourage more youth to involve in this project. Okay, moving to the next slide. Okay, I'm gonna explain how can we use ferrofluid. This is like chemical experience. Okay, I will try to explain it the easiest ways. So we have oil, we have magnetic, we combine it together, and then we like after like we put it into the water, and it will on the microplastic will combine with the ferrofluid, and then we extracted the microplastic apart. After 1,000 tests, the method had 87% effectively in removing the microplastic from on source of water. This is a result from Fiona Ferreira. I hope I pronounced his name correctly, from Ireland. He won in 2019 Google Science Fair. And as I have mentioned, so which company needs microplastic? Yes, there's already HP, the technology which produce laptop or electronic device. They hope that when we gather the microplastic and give to them, so 92,000 of plastic bottle will remove out of the ocean. Okay, next slide, please. Yes, and if this project idea can be implemented, we hope that all the seas will look better, the water environment get fresher, and and it will be a very good result. And this program is very meaningful, so we can call for a sponsor for the next to sponsor us for next workshop and trips. More youth will be very eager to be an environmental ambassador. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm gonna analyze with SWOT how possible is our project. Firstly, the strength. Okay, so this project I think is very feasible because first of all we understand how to change the youth, because we are the youth, and it's very appealing to the student when we promise to giving them the appreciation gifts from the technical companies. Okay, how about the weakness? Like let I say this involve some chemical knowledge. If they don't have enough knowledge, they will not really feel appealing to the project. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the opportunities for our project is it can be supported by university, easy to get funding because the brands, the companies really want to advertise them to the young consumer and customer. And speaking of the threats, okay, so we all know that COVID-19 is a very big pandemic and big threat to all of us around the world. So if the COVID-19 still going on, still keep harming our lives, so we cannot organize any offline session. It will be the same story with bad weather, like we cannot go to the ocean in a storm or the tsunami or like rainy days, right? Okay. So I have finished analyze my ideas.
Okay, today we've explored the definition, the causes and effects, the current situation of plastic pollution, and the possible solutions for it. I hope you now have a better understanding of the plastic pollution in the ocean and will be able to take action by yourself to move things forward in a better direction. Thank you. And here are our sources we used.
Thank you, the water team. You really had very informative presentation. I would like to open the floor for a Q&A session. If you guys have any question directed to the team water, you guys can write it in the chat box below. So I do have a question for the team. So you guys talk mainly about microplastic pollution in ocean, right? So do you guys have any ideas or view of freshwater pollution? Do anybody have any information about it?
Yeah, obviously on freshwater pollution, as you can see in the previous slides, that of the Kathmandu, Bagmati and the Kathmandu, you can see lots of dumps of the plastics there. That's I think. Yes. Though no any accurate data on the plastic amount the plastic in the freshwater of the Nepal has been published, but we can only get the data on plastic for the landfills. Well, ultimately, they are the source for the plastic pollution in the water, freshwater, and finally to the oceans and seas.
Thank you, Ramesh. And I think you're having your morning right now there. So any questions? Okay. So Mimi asks, do you have any special requirements for students to be an ambassador for your project? Any requirements for the students? Anyone from the team want to answer?
Well, we didn't think of any special requirements for students to be an ambassador, environmental ambassador students, because it should be an project for like everyone to be aware of the problem and collect microplastics from an ocean. And it's better to, it's the best situation will be like countless people take part in the project and take away the microplastic out of the ocean as much as possible. So I think we shouldn't set up any like special or requirements that might need students to have a like degree or something. So yeah, that's
Thank you, Yuto. We have another question from Wendy. She asks, what's the risks you will have if your challenge go to be practical? Like what risks and challenges you'll face? Anyone from the team wants
Oh
to
yeah,
answer?
so I'll answer this question because I have mentioned it in my presentation that is the threats are the two biggest threats to our challenge is the bad weathers and COVID-19.
Thank you, Tony. Next question is very relating to the previous question. So you ask, as you mentioned, as weakness of this plan, she wonders how you can attract youth who are not interested in ocean pollution to do action plan.
Yes, this is a very hard problem for us to solve. Like for the people who first impressions not really interested in ocean pollution, we should have like a good reserve for the first generation of our project. We have help them to fully understanding, and they will be the ambassador to spread the value of the project to other people. And if this can happen and like can for many project no many next workshop, I think that they can like little by little, yeah, be more interested.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, I want to add on Tony's as after the presentation by Tony. An outreach program can be a better option for those who are not interested in the plastic options.
I think he's having a little bit problem. So I was wondering how microplastic have effects on like the ecosystem of ocean. Can anybody from the team describe it? How the microplastic affects the ecosystem of ocean?
Okay, so I'm gonna explain that. Microplastics, the scientific research proved that like tiny planktons are like seeing microplastics as their food, and they eat microplastics, and it's and those who eat planktons are fishes, and fishes is what we eat, so it directly affects to us, and also the microplastic, the marine ecosystems itself. So it starts from the very, very like small, tiny living organisms to the like big ones such as the fishes, mammals, and stuff like that.
Thank you, Yuto. I think
Yes.
I'm ending the Q&A session, and thank you all people who have asked questions to the team, and also the team. You really had a very great presentation, and we had a very big thank you for you. Thank you. So we'll take a small break, a 5-minute break. Just don't leave the session. We'll be right back after 5 minutes.
Hello. Please come back. Now the 5-minute break time is over. We would like to continue with the presentation from participants. We will invite Team Fire. From Team Fire, we have Moe, Mahbub, Muskan, and Momo. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, yes. Ready. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. Good out from Bangladesh. I'm Mahbubur Rahman from the fire team. As you can see, our topic of concern is global warming from the internet. Hopefully you may be thinking, how is that possible if someone uses the internet while just sitting at home? To know how it's happening, keep listening to us. You will get the clear idea at the end of our presentation. Next slide, please. Here are the members who have found this very concerning issue. Mahbub from Bangladesh, Muskan from Nepal, Momo from Vietnam, and Moi from Japan. Next slide, please. Here is the outline that shows how we have handled this issue and with a very innovative solution and analysis at the end. Next slide, please. Now, hopefully, you think that the evolution was always good for the earth, but is the data storage evolution good for the earth? At the end of this presentation, probably you will think it's not. Here, I will give you a little touch of our findings. That is, because of sending and keeping our data into the cloud, we always have to use the internet to access our data. And this is what causing the global warming. Probably you are thinking these findings are too much fictional, but it's true. We will prove those throughout this presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, then let's start with the reason and end with the solution. Next slide, please. Here you go. Now it's time to know the unknown. Do you think that using internet causes huge emissions of carbon dioxide? Before we start, let's imagine. Let's imagine you are having a humorous, fancy, and also hilarious chat with your best friend for 2 or 3 hours throughout the internet on Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, or any other communication app. And also imagine you are sending your birthday invitation through email, attaching a very colorful and high definition curve. And you continue those conversations after you get tired. Okay, let's end our imagination. Until now, have you done something which caused carbon emission except for breathing? Presumably, the answer from you is negative, but you are 100% wrong. At least you might have emitted 500 grams or even 1 kg of carbon dioxide to contribute to global warming. Now, probably you have a question in your mind, like, how is it happening? Actually, it's because you are using the internet. I know you might have raised your eyebrows, but it's true. Let's find out the answers. Next slide, please. Okay. Hopefully, you can see the illustration, and the slide is the first step of the procedure. As you have kept your data such as HD photos, HD videos, HD and 3D animations, notes into the cloud, like server, data center, as Google Drive, you always need the internet to access and use all those data. Here, the main point is that data centers and servers need lots of energy to store the data and to set and keep the connection non-stop. Maybe the data center is in the US, but you can get your data sitting in the Bangladesh or in Japan. As it's very far away, it needs huge amount of energy to connect with your mobile or laptop. In time of keeping the connection with your device, server and data center produce huge amounts of heat along with carbon dioxide. There are bunches of authority like Facebook, Google, Zoom, Instagram, Twitter, Microsoft who are doing this. Now it's time to go deeper. Next slide, please. Remembering the previous slide, here let's find out what was the source of that energy, which was consumed by the servers and data centers. 99% source of their energy was from the fossil fuels like coal, oil, natural gas, and so on. If we look at the statistics in the 2020, the amount of energy was 302 terawatt hours. Just imagine how much carbon dioxide you emitted and contributed to global warming. Next slide, please. Here is the ultimate result with a clear connection with each other. You can easily see that one of the sources of global warming, all I wanted to say is the internet. Then the question is, how many people are on the earth and how many of them are using the internet? Let's see. Next slide, please. According to the Worldometer website, the total population is 7.8 billion. Among them, 59.5% of people are using the internet right now. It's huge. Let's see another statistic. Next slide, please. In 1991, there was only one website, but now in 2021, surprisingly, the number of the recognized websites are 1.5 billion, which is still growing like a volcano. And it is to mention here that I didn't include the dark web yet. Including the dark web, it would be 3.5 or 4, even 4 billion. All these websites need internet and use internet. Next slide, please. Now, what are you thinking? Are you feeling sad? Don't worry. The fire team also came up with a very innovative solution. Let's see how it is. Let's see how this Muskan from let's see how it is. But Muskan from the Nepal will explain the background first. Thank you.
The carbon footprint. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear
you. Okay, thank you. So the carbon footprint of the digital age, it might seem quite trivial when you think about the internet because it is mostly wireless, but it is the most source or the cause that causes the highest amount of carbon emission in this modern era. Other things such as deforestation or burning of the fossil fuels or air pollution might be some of the cases that you might think cause a lot of carbon, but eventually internet is the #1 culprit. Next slide. So this is the background of how the internet came into existence. In January 1st, 1983, the internet was invented, and up until then, in 2021, 53.6% or 4.1 billion people in this world use the internet. That is a lot of people, out of which 3.7% of the total carbon emission that is happening in this world is done by the internet, which is around 1.7 billion amount of emission happening every year. If we have to divide it with all the population in this world, it is around 400 grams of carbon is being produced by a single person each day. Next slide, please. So here I have an overview of how much carbon is emitted by a particular site. So we can see that Netflix, YouTube, or other similar streaming sites like HBO or Amazon Prime, they produce around 300 megatons of carbon each year. A regular email creates 4 grams of carbon emission, a text creates 0.014 gram, and a tweet creates 0.2 gram of carbon. So you can see in this, in the left part, you can see that the YouTube video views in 1 minute is 4.17 million worldwide, which creates around 7.09 kg of carbon. Similar is that of Facebook and Google, which has been extensively used. Next slide, please. So this Zoom, what we're doing now, this presentation is quite contradictory too, because we are creating carbon as we speak. So if this meeting continues for around 5 hours, it will create around 4 to 215 kg of carbon dioxide. Next slide, please. So these are the impacts of carbon emission. After the carbon has been emitted, there are many impacts of it, like increased greenhouse gases, of course, if it contains carbon dioxide, which causes rapid climate change, which causes hazardous effects on human health and animals, such as asthma, bronchitis, and similar airborne diseases, global warming, and rising sea level. Next slide, please. Yeah, so for solutions, I would like to call Mo from Japan.
Yeah. Thank you, Muskan. Finally, I would like to give some solutions to the problem. To solve these fundamental problems, we focused on two parties, the user of the internet and the providers of web services. For providers, we will implement a sort of tax on carbon. This is a concept already discussed globally. However, our twist is that we will give it a name like carbon tree so that people can familiarize with it better. For users, we will start an educational program and build an app/software software. Finally, we will talk about the possible very innovative solution in the near future. Momo will now discuss the first topic. Next slide, please.
Okay, for the education part, I think the first and foremost important solution is that we have to let the people using the internet know that it can harm the environment, even just a little bit. Therefore, I think this part should have like include two smaller ones. First will be raise awareness, and second will be like encourage people to act and change. For the raising awareness part, I think that if more organizations who currently stand for the environment can provide people with like more relevant information about it, more campaigns are being made to spread the news, and we can even produce and promote the films about carbon footprint on the internet. Like Netflix has succeeded in making films about the environment, like plastic oceans or gas ground. Next slide. So for encourage people to like take actions, we know that people already know about us, but we are currently reducing harm to the environment, so they have to act and change the situation into a better future. For example, we can have the app EcoCR. It's an search engine. Like will encourage you to search more, and you will like the more you search and the more do you will. Or another app can plan it like a challenge app that you can challenge your friends to like planning tree or something like that. Yeah, next slide. I will like Molly to continue her part.
Thank you, Momo. As another feasible solution, we will build an app or software that has several features. The first feature is automate settings on a device. For example, upon using YouTube or Google image search, the app will make sure that it loads in 480p or mediocre quality. The app may warn you when there is a video or photo in your email and recommend better options like a zip file or a link to a cloud file. Next slide, please. The second feature is a carbon footprint timer. It will come with a built-in timer that calculates the amount of carbon that was emitted when using a website or an app. After the emission gets to a certain amount, the app will warn. After the day's carbon emission is completely used up, the app will shut down. For especially enthusiastic people, the app will have an auto-lock feature that bans you from using the app for the rest of the day. Next slide, please. The third feature is a pop-up search counter. Aside from counting the total carbon emissions from an individual app or site, it will count the total amount of carbon your emission on your computer in a day. You will constantly be able to view the total as a clock in your notification center. If it also gets to a certain amount, a pop-up will warn you to take your time offline for the rest of the day. Next slide, please. This is an example of what the app will look like when implemented. This is the pop-up that will count the total emission of carbon so that you are more conscious of your carbon footprint. I would like to emphasize that even though this is an app or software for users to install and turn on, our final and eventual goal is for the web service providers to build in such timers and auto-lock features so that they are friendlier to the environment. However, since this decreases the time spent on the web service and is unprofitable for the providers, it won't be feasible as a short-time solution. Additionally, the server for this app/software will generate its electricity fully from renewable energy sources like solar power or wind power. We will review the code for it many times so that no data will be transmitted in vain. You may be wondering how effective this will be. I will admit, considering it in an individual size, it will only make a small difference. However, billions of people using the internet, and a small difference will become a major difference. Additionally, always being conscious of the damage you are doing to the environment will surely change the mindset of people. And as we mentioned previously, changing people's mindset is one of the most difficult yet fundamental things we must do. Next slide, please. Finally, I will talk about the solution that is innovative but still has ways to go: quantum computers. Quantum computers are computers that use quantum bits to calculate. They could be a solution because of two main reasons: different algorithms and faster calculation. Since quantum bits allow you to calculate many data at the same time, and algorithms will be different, it is likely that quantum computers will require less power and overall friendlier to the environment. It is important to note that although we have talked about the negative side of the internet and convenience for the sake of convenience, progress is being made, and the pursuit of convenience is not necessarily a bad thing. Next slide, please. I would now like to invite Momo to summarize our presentation.
So beside the solution that we mentioned above, I think that as an individual, you have only using internet, so we have to also take action to protect the environment, right? So first, I think that we have to review the usage of the device. For example, I'm not too sure. I'm sure that we all know that the rules, but we have to make more attention to it. For example, if you need to turn your phone down when you see it not necessary to use, you can talk to your friend instead of chatting or something like that. Or second, you can make a guideline for using the internet. For example, we all know how to use the internet actually, but how many of you know how to use it with consuming less carbon footprint? Therefore, a guideline is needed for those who care. So just small details like avoiding the spam mail or million notifications is very good for environment. Last but not least, I think if you cannot stop yourself from using these, then switch to something more less consume carbon footprint. For example, you can change from your PC to your smartphone or something like that. Next slide, please. So here's our reference for the presentation. Next slide. And thank you for all of you listening, and I hope you guys get more information about carbon footprint on the internet and be more mindful about your use. Thank you.
Thank you, FIRE team, for your brilliant presentation. Now we would like to have a Q&A session. If there are any questions or comments, please leave it in the Zoom chat or Facebook or YouTube. Okay, I think we received a question from Raju. How can you relate your solution with fire decreasation of the world? Can you please explain?
I'll explain. So as even though we were a fire team, our main point wasn't to decrease the amount of fire there is in the world, because that's impossible. Fire is not connected directly to environmental problems. We wanted to save global warming by reducing the number of carbon emissions, and our solution will directly connect to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? If there are no questions, we will move on to next presentation. Okay.
My son is going to share the screen, or why?
Yes, I will share the screen.
Hello everyone. We are Soil Crew, and I'm Helen from Vietnam, and my teammates are Mai from Japan and Ramisa from Bangladesh. And we tend to look skyward when talking about pollution. Thus, the problem is not confined to our sky. The soil in which our fruits and vegetables grow is also suffering its consequences. The effects of which getting to us directly. For instance, through the aforementioned foodstuff, the time has come to look after what lies under our feet. And the next slide, please. And we will present basic information about soil and soil pollution, current situation, research question, cause and background, and the last is solution. And the next slide. So first, what does the pollution of soil mean? That is the presence of toxic chemical pollutant or contaminants in soil in high enough concentrations to pose the risk to human health or the ecosystem, and contaminations of soil with anomalous concentration of toxic substances. 33% of the Earth's land mass is degraded by human beings over time, and at present, some 11% of the globe's land surface is used in crop production. On the next slide, please. Uh, soil in soil, soil The most important role soil is providing the land to cultivate water and nutrition for the crops that are cultivated there. Besides some seafood and ingredients, 95% of the food is produced based on the soil. And the next slide, please. And the current situation by using the land bluffing the land degrades the soil, and then for the production we use fertilizers and pesticides, which further degrades the soil, and finally soil erosion occurs. The more soil pollution gets serious, the more we use chemical fertilizer and pesticide to recover production at a cheapest cost. Actually, it is the fact that production has been increased drastically after green evolution on agriculture, and that supports the increase the population in the world. And the next slide, please. And and the next slide is the energies we put into production. However, it is difficult to define that modern methods that use chemical fertilizer and agricultural machines from some perspective. This table shows the comparisons of rice and maize between modern and traditional methods. It is clear that production yield is much higher on modern methods in the both of the crop. On the other hand, even though energy input is much higher on the modern method, yield per input is actually higher on the traditional method. Considering from the past, it could be considered that efficiency in terms of energy input is not high on the modern method. In addition, since it use chemical fertilizer and pesticide beyond the controllable level, it is not sustainable both of the for human health and environment. And the next slide, please. And the next slide, and the slide will show you about situation of each country. In Japan, contamination of agricultural fuels by heavy metal, and in Vietnam, it released and increased salinity in soil, and the people use plant protection drugs so much, and every year Vietnam imports 100,000 to 120,000 tons of plant protection drugs annually. And in Bangladesh, uh, people use of fertilizers and pesticides in excessive amount, and agriculture's mass practice reduce soil fertilizers and its composition. And the next slide, please. And the richest question is what is an actual efficient and eco-friendly way to produce food in terms of economics, environment, and health? And the next part is Ramisha.
Thank you, Helen. We all know the soil plays the most important role in the sustenance of living beings. To solve the problem regarding the soil pollution, we need to know about the problems first. Next slide. So the present prevailing problems affecting the agricultural production are the physical degradation processes like soil erosion, nutrient runoff, waterlogging, and desertification, and also the chemical degradation processes like acidification of the soil, organic matter loss, salinization, and nutrient depletion by leaching, and the accumulation of toxic substances. Next slide, please. The soil is also polluted by the other natural elements that coexist with soil. Water affects the soil by acid rain, salination of soil by accumulation of mineral salts, contaminated underground water, natural disasters like flood and heavy rain in the monsoon. Wildfire burns away all the vegetation and the organic matter on the surface of the soil. As a result, it erodes the soil. Natural disasters, carbon emission, wind erosion also degrades the soil. Overgrazing by livestock erodes the topsoil fertility needed for agricultural production. Next slide. Both agricultural malfunctions and soil degrade each other in certain ways. Agricultural malpractices like use of excessive inorganic fertilizers and chemicals, tillage, plowing for sowing seeds, and the monoculture plantation degrades the soil. And soil too can hamper the agricultural productions if it is contaminated with the toxic substances like heavy metals and minerals like arsenic, lead, cadmium, and if there's also oil or petroleum contamination. Moving on next with my team member Mai.
Thank you so much. And finally, I would like to explain about solution, which is packaged agroforestry. So just to make the relation between research questions and solution clear, again, our research question is what is actually efficiency and friendly way to produce food in terms of financial, environment, and human health. Based on that, core suggestion is agroforestry that is expected to be taken initiatives by NGOs, collaborating with government sector, companies, and individuals. Most obvious characteristic of our solution is that we identify difficulties that could be happened to introduce and manage the agroforestry, and we will suggest some solution to address those issues as a package, including agroforestry. So firstly, I will explain about what it actually means agroforestry. Agroforestry means agriculture plus forest. That means like, as we can see from these pictures, we can cultivate some different kind of crops at the same time. Coconut, bananas, and cacao, for example. And by doing this, actually like there are three obvious merits. Firstly, increasing of income in long terms for farmers. And secondly, preserve the environment and soil. And thirdly, it's really good for health for humans. So as I said, to introduce this agroforestry, actually there are some difficulties we identified to introduce and manage the agroforestry. At the initial stage, contaminated soil could be difficulties because before introducing the agroforestry, if soil is contaminated, we should purify the soil first. So, and in addition, after initial stage, on the middle and long-term stage, education for trainings, and also like keep monetizing and raising the awareness could be difficulties we will address. So now we will explain about the technological approach for the first stage to purify the soil.
So with the amount of waste humans continue to produce with the addition of many other factors, soil pollution is a serious and growing problem. It leads to many consequences for our Earth, and without a plan to control it, those consequences might become irreversible. To solve the problem of eroded lands and to increase the land mass for our agricultural production, we can take some technical measures to restore the value of the soil. One of them we would suggest is the phytoremediation process. So what is the phytoremediation process? It is a cost-effective plant-based approach. Phytoremediation is a bioremediation process which uses various types of plants to transfer, remove, destroy, or stabilize contaminants in the groundwater and soil. Phytoremediation has been used successfully include the restoration of abandoned metal working sites where cyclochlorinated biphenyls have been dumped during manufacture and mitigation of ongoing coal mines discharge, reducing the impact of the contaminants in soil. By using hyperaccumulator plants for phytoextraction, the heavy metal is taken into the plant roots, translocated to the top of the plant, and removed by plant harvesting. By harvesting low accumulation factor plants, it accumulates the toxic materials and excessive salt on a lower level to stabilize and balance the minerals in the soil. It also reduces the potential for transport of contaminants by the wind and has a benefit of minimal land disturbances. That way, we can purify the soil and regain its value, making it a cultivable land. For example, native plants helps restoring biodiversity as the plant is already adapted to the ecology, and a variety of plants develop a more robust ecology. So moving on next with Mai.
Okay, so I will move to the issues for middle and long terms. So this is the example cycle of agroforestry. So first is we will put some short-term crops, and after 1 year later, we can harvest. And then at the same time, we can put on some middle-term crops, and then we can harvest for several years later. And then it's clearly from the right side of our pictures, we can also put long-term crops, and it takes time actually to grow. That's why like after several decades later, we can harvest. So considering from these factors, actually like agroforestry means we have to cultivate and collaborate a lot kind of various crops that takes different times to grow up. So that's why to take care of various kind of crops at the same time, actually education is necessary. So this is our project for education trainings as a solution to address middle and long-term issues. So there are two factors actually we will address. And first is by researchers with using subsidies and government budget, researching about seed and farming technologies. And from the right side, NGOs can take this addressed with at the local community level. That means cultivation of human resource, especially for the leader for that communities, and also manage the quality of crops and know-how of farming as communities. And also like NGOs can work at the local community level from the perspective of technological expanding too. So finally, I will explain about making product solutions for mid and long terms. So this is the case studies of the companies which is called Macy's of agroforestry chocolate. So this is one of the examples to make some product by using the ingredient from agroforestry. So by addressing those kind of making products project, actually like for farmers, the benefit could be stable incomes. And for companies, differences, social responsibilities, and also like they can make a difference with other companies by add some values. And finally, for consumers, it's really actually reliable and helpful to raise the awareness of agroforestry. That's why we will suggest this solution. Thank you so much. This is all from our groups.
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation, Team Soil. We will move on to a Q&A session. Please feel free to comment in the chat box. Okay, so we received a question from Nana saying, how long have you used for training, long-term or short-term? And have you ever imaged about how many people or scale will attend your training?
So I will take these questions. So first question, how long have you been used? We expect that like 2 or 3 months, as there's already project by governmental sectors, and it's really common to have some months, several months to make the trainings for specific person. And have you ever imagined about how many people? Actually, we don't expect that we train a lot of people because like by our project, we can train some leaders and then like that leaders can expand and train other peoples at the local level. So not so many, just for leaders for our project, but doesn't mean that we consider that we don't need to train a lot of people. Just to cultivate the leaders, we will do at the small community first. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. So from YouTube, how do you measure the outcome of this solution?
Can I go, Rezwana and Helen? Okay. So actually, like we couldn't put the measures. What should I say? We couldn't put that part to our solutions on our presentations, but we feel like there are a lot of measures to measure the outcomes. Firstly, it actually based on our research questions. So firstly, we can measure the incomes of farmers who introduce the agroforestries. And then we can measure the soil pollution level of the land that before and after introducing the agroforestries at the same place. And also like for the health part, actually we can consider that like how much people's mind could be changed after making product that ingredient is coming from agroforestries. So is that any other comment from our groups? Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your questions and answers, Team Soil, and we will take another 5-minute break from here. And we will have Mr. Seki, Mr. Kojima, and other organizer to discuss about the judgment in other breakout rooms. So it's 3:16. We'll take another 5-minute break, so please come back here at 3:21, Japanese time, sorry.
Hi, Momoka.
Diwa, are you there?
Today, from Vietnamese delegates together, we are gathered in a coffee shop. So,
So the 5 minutes break is over, right? Thank you to all the participants for your amazing presentation. We are really glad and we really appreciate your hard work. But now we have to announce the best presentation. So I would like to call Mr. Kwazuma to give some feedback to all the teams and as well as announce the best presentation.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for the great presentation. I truly enjoyed the contents. And first, let me do the brief feedback on each presentation, and then to announce the best presentation. And so starting from the AIR team, I think I saw the previous presentation. I saw a great improvement from the previous presentation, first of all. And particularly pointing out the good points is I think how to scope the problem definition. So air pollution from household waste, I think it was very clear. And also the solution to it, it's very kind of clear, which is the individual waste reduction, and also focusing on the advocacy and the increased awareness on the 5 Rs and the 7 weeks action plan. I think it's very feasible and a clear solution, which is directly linked to each other. But the issues I saw was when we think of the household waste, yes, the immediate source of the household waste is from the house, obviously the individual and the household. But if you look at the whole waste value chain, obviously there's the industry, and also the government also has to be involved. So I just wanted to know the bigger scope of the waste, kind of how the waste is produced, and obviously the economic activities of the individuals going to increase, the amount of waste obviously is going to increase. So there's other also stakeholders has to be involved in this solution. So it would be more better presentations if you have a whole stakeholders involved in the presentation. And also including other teams, lots of the focus was the individual basis, but not just the education and awareness, but how to incentivize the individuals to move on is also important to make sure that once the individual has awareness and how to implement continuously those measures is also important. So if there is some more kind of specific incentives to be implemented in the individuals, which is also better, I think. For the next presentation, which is live team on the Coral, I personally put the best score in this team, and what was good for the Coral team was the flow of the presentation, and the first. So basically, you described the issues, and also what was good was to basically divide the issues. So first, this team was divided local and a global approach, and focused on the local approach, and evaluate the local approach and finding out the issues, and then focusing on the locals. What are the measures to locals for the locals to implement? And the other good thing was not just increase awareness among locals and education, but also there was the incentive plan was announced, which is the payment for the ecosystem, which is also good to make it sustainable. So the other thing is
if there's something which you have better, is the numbers, like why they're focusing on locals is going to like solve these issues. I just wanted to have the magnitude of like solutions, how effective enough, to focus on the locals. I just wanted to see like why focusing on the locals is a good solution, and also how to like scale this incentive system. I heard payment for ecosystem is coming from like different issues, but I just want to know like just basically the government is going to subsidize this project, but how much of the subsidy, for example, is going to be enough to address this issue. So overall, if I could have the magnitude and size of the specific solutions, it'd be more probably better presentation. And for the next water team, I think first of all, what is good is the topic. I think plastic pollution problem is universal for 4 countries. So I think the topic itself to focus on, which is common to 4 countries, which is good to meaningful for the participants from these countries we discuss. And also what is good was again focusing on specific actionable measures on the individuals, particularly using like a ferrofluid approach is very kind of easy to understand. Particularly this time, the solution was focusing on the youth, and for youth to have a kind of understanding of what they have to do is also very easy and actionable, which is also good in terms of the solutions. And also the fact that this team did the SWOT analysis, trying to be objective on the solution is also good to find more kind of even better solutions by doing SWOT analysis. So the fact that using this type of tools, trying to be objective was good. The other things which I recommend is 2 things. I think this team was also focusing on the awareness making among the individuals, but how to kind of change from increasing awareness towards action is also very important, which I mean by that, in other words, incentive. I'm a little bit like too old after the years of experiences at work, sometimes, even though we try to increase awareness, it do not necessarily turns into actions. So I just, want to know specific incentives, to make it, to bring it to action, and how to scale the operation. Obviously not just, bringing the solution, but how to scale into effective is also important issues to think about, not just a small action, but how to spread the small action into the big action. So how to think about the scalable approach is also, I think, important. The 4th team, the fire team, carbon footprint, the effect of the internet onto the carbon footprint. I think the way, the good point for this team was the way to raise this issue into this presentation, particularly with the specific examples, which is also very much relevant to the daily life, including me. So this presentation was very effective in bringing the issues towards more familiar to the participants. So I think the way to raise the issues and how it is happening, the causal analysis was also very, very clear. So because of that, the solution to it is also very kind of straightforward, how to minimize the use of the internet. The issue I see, I would recommend that the solution to it is more like, I'd say, like kind of punishment approach, like just to how to cut the usage of the how can I say how to cut the usage of the internet, or how to incentivize the application web service provider to raise awareness to the users of the carbon footprint. But honestly, including myself, currently how much you use the internet or AI, just to add, not just internet, but actually use of artificial intelligence is also a big problem for the carbon footprint these days. And the fact that using more AI internet is going to increase the economic welfare globally. So, I think the big issue here is how to balance, still, make sure that people have a way to increase the economic welfare, but still not using much of the AI and internet. I think this is the biggest challenge here to think about this issue going forward. But one more thing is, including other teams, changing people's, kind of trying to change people's behavior, or try to like promote behavioral change is fundamentally difficult thing. So we, not just about this team, but when we try to bring the behavioral change, we really think twice about how to incentivize the change. The final theme about the soil. I think the good team for the team was particularly the solution to the problem, like agroforestry. Particularly, this team identified the question clearly about basically how to bring the sustainable farming, and then trying to solve the soil pollution and degradation. So I think the way this team provided agroforestry was very clear, and also it is easy for me to understand how this mechanism works out in terms of solving the soil pollution. The one question I had about the soil team was, I think it was clear the issue is soil pollution, and then this team provided how to address the issue of pollution. But the other scope, which I feel, if I had better, if I had, is so how to this team focused on how to fix the soil pollution, but not how to prevent the soil pollution. So I think it's because of the how this team defined the question. But I think the original question was why the soil pollution happens, and and how to prevent the soil pollution. I think that was a question. The other question this team might have in this research. So it was very clear how to fix the soil pollution, but also it was better if you have why the soil pollution happens, and how to prevent the soil pollution for the future. Because if the question is as it is, agroforestry is not not necessarily provide the solution to prevent the soil pollution. So I just want to make clear, when you set the issue as a soil pollution, not just fixing the issues, but how to prevent the issue was also probably to be explored. But all in all, I think the only just 1 week project. I think each team had a really good effort, and it was all of the presentation was great. I had no chance when I was a college student 20 years ago. I had no chance to do this type of global project. So I was truly amazed by the work of the whole team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kuwashima, for the feedbacks and comments. I'm pretty sure that all the participants are being very honored by your comments, and yeah, I know, and very encouraging them to as well. Thank you so much for your coming here today, Mr. Kuwajima, and giving very precious feedbacks to us. Well, okay. So, and it's been a pleasure being with all of you today. Thank you very much for Mr. Kuwajima, Mr. Seki, and
Wait.
Yeah.
We have to announce the winner team.
Yes.
Yeah, Professor Seki, could you do that? Could you do that?
Okay.
Or I can do that.
Yeah, I think you can do that. Yes, because
okay.
you're a special guest today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, okay, the winner of today's presentation. Actually, we picked two presentation. One is coral, and the one is the fire, which is the carbon footprint. So actually we split the opinions. We have three judges, and some judges supported coral, and some other judge supported the fire, which is basically just very close and almost equivalent. So we just chose those teams as a winner because of the logical flow of the presentations and the contents and how, the level of the analysis. So we took into like many aspects, and we just picked two presentations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations to Team Fire and Life. Okay. Well, okay, so the program event today is coming close to the end. So I'll briefly say a little closing remarks from me, and if I could get some comments from Mr. Seki and Mr. Kuwajima for today's event, it will be great. Can I receive some few words from Mr. Seki first?
Yes. I deeply appreciate your effort, not only the presentation, but all the preparation part. You made a lot of effort. I really appreciate it. Actually, as I said in the opening remarks, and this is the 32nd International Exchange Program in AAE history. And this is the very first time that I was not involved in the preparation part actively. But I'm proud of you because you did it without my support. Yes, and in the future, I think you don't need me anymore. Without me, you can accomplish this big event. It means that AAE has developed in the last 13 years. I'm very happy about that. Thank you very much for your effort. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Seki. Mr. Kuwajima, will you give us some few words?
So once again, thanks so much for having me. I truly enjoyed, and I was amazed how capable you all are in this remote environment. You still completed this great presentation. It's a great achievement, truly. So you should have all of you should have a confidence in your achievement. And first of all, it was such a coincidence that actually once all the COVID-19 was over, I was actually planning to visit Vietnam and Nepal, and so for my business. So I really honestly glad to have this occasion, and also get to know the people in Bangladesh. So I will promise that I will also find a reason to visit Bangladesh too. But honestly, for the people in Vietnam and Nepal, once COVID-19 is over, please let me have a chance to see you personally. And also the other thing is, well, this style, this global project is literally how I work these days. Every day I have a call and the communications with not just not just Asia, but globally. So I think this experience would be your kind of asset that you will just experience before you got to work. The fact that you could do this project is a great like a tools and experience you can use for the coming future. So I would just wish your bright future, and let's get over COVID-19 thing. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kuwajima and Mr. Seki, for your comments for closing remarks. So with the theme of SDGs environment, we hope all of you have obtained a lot of useful initiatives from our delegates and judges. This is not only a chance for you to learn from each other, but also a chance to enhance the awareness of the environmental problems in the recent years. Also, please, okay. All right, Ayaka, will you share screen? Thank you. Okay, and please check our social media listed here. Yeah, we have Facebook, Instagram, and website, and then we also have Twitter for Japanese account. So please scan the QR and please follow us. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you for your attendance. We wish you success and happiness. Thank you very much. We stop the live stream.